Hi, good morning. Today is the 19th of August. I would like to continue meditating on Proverbs chapter 15, verse 8. The Lord detests the sacrifice of the wicked, but the prayer of the upright pleases him. What pleases God? I would like to talk about finding your pleasure in God, abiding in Him, and finding your pleasure in Him. How can a sinner like us please God? How can I please God? How can you please God? We cannot please God. The only way we can do so is by being justified by faith. And Paul talked about it in all his letter to the Roman church, that we find justification in Christ. Christ has become, as he says in another letter, God's righteousness to us, for us. So in him we have righteousness. In him we can approach God. We can be with God. And imagine if you just wanted to go to heaven. You don't want anything to do with God. You wanted to go to heaven. You'd like a family to go to heaven. You'd like to live in a paradise. Imagine the Basque country where I live here in southern France, near Spain. Beautiful place with sea, hills, mountains, valleys, rivers. Imagine a place like that without pain, without COVID, without death, without sin, and you call it a paradise. But God's paradise is His presence. It might be, I'm sure, an amazing place. But it's not the place, it's the person. Yes, that's good, isn't it? It's not the place, it is the person. It's all about the person. So heaven is the presence of God. What Paul is going to say about it in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 9. So we make it our goal to please him, whether we are at home in this body or away from it. And you can look at the mirror now and say, this body is going to become dust. Your body, my body, everybody, we are all going to become dust. So Paul is saying, as I am in this body that is going to become dust, my goal is to please God. And then when I'm not in this body anymore, my goal will be again to please God. And he wrote to the Galatians chapter 2, verse 20, saying that his life was Christ. The life he was living, that body he had, was Christ. He found his life in Christ. Another thing that you could say to yourself looking at the mirror is that God doesn't need you. God is complete in himself. We cannot add anything to God. If you didn't exist, God would still be God. God is God whatever you do. So it's not God that needs you, it's you who need God. You need God. There is no pleasure, no joy if God is not in you, if you haven't got a relationship with him. So how can you please him? By being thirst for him, by desiring him, by wanting to be with him here and forever. And you are going to find your joy in it. Drinking from the fountain of grace. That's beautiful as well. You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. Are you finding your pleasure in God? As this Psalm 16, verse 11 says. Finding your joy in his presence? Finding eternal pleasures in him? Isn't it interesting that even the Old Testament, he's talking about eternal pleasure. Not just pleasure of the flesh, because the flesh is going to be destroyed, but the eternal pleasures that we find in Christ alone. That he will come in the deepest part of your spirit, of your heart, and will share there a joy that no one can take away. God bless you.